5 different times in the New Testament, Jesus gave the church their marching orders, and in each one he emphasized different things. We just looked at one of them in Matthew 28. It's also stated for us in John chapter 20. Jesus came and stood among them and said, "Peace be with you." After he said this, he showed them his hands and his side. The disciples were overjoyed when they saw the Lord. Again, Jesus said, "Peace be with you. As the Father has sent me, I am sending you." And with that, he breathed on them and said, "Receive the Holy Spirit." The key phrase here is where Jesus says, "As the Father has sent me, I am sending you." So what does it mean for us to be sent as Jesus was sent? How did the Father send Jesus? And as we understand how the Father sent the Son into the world for his redemptive mission, that will help us to understand then how we are likewise sent by Jesus into the world to be part of that same redemptive mission. Now, we can make 3 observations about how the Father sent Jesus as we look at all of his ministry and the rest of the New Testament. First of all, he sent him with a purpose. Jesus came with purpose for his life on this earth. As we saw in the last video, he came, he said, to seek and save the lost. He came to go to the cross. He didn't come just for vacation or to hang out among us. He was sent by the Father with purpose. The second thing is that God sent Jesus into the world to give himself up for us. In other words, he came self-sacrificially. And the third thing that we see about how the Father sent the Son is that he sent him to fully enter our world. He didn't just achieve salvation from a distance. He came to identify completely with us, fully human in every way, yet without sin. That pattern helps us to understand what it means for us to live as people who are sent out by Jesus. First of all, it defines our purpose in life. And like Jesus, we're not just in this world for a vacation. We're not just in this world to do what we like or to have our own way. We're here for a purpose. And secondly, like Jesus, his commission to us calls us to live sacrificially. Again, it's not about us. And we can't be people of eternal influence and live self-centered lives. And then the third thing, this commission from Jesus calls us to cross boundaries and to cross barriers to engage people. Just as Jesus left his home turf, he left heaven, he came into a new experience that was far from his previous existence. And that act of Jesus becoming a human being is called the incarnation. And so his example calls for us to live incarnationally, to wrap ourselves in the world of other people. Now, what that might mean practically is maybe it means spending less time with Christians, less time in what I call the Christian bubble. So, for example, you might choose to play on a softball team from work rather than just going and playing with the church team where you have your comfortable relationships. Or it might mean that you find a way to volunteer out in the community. Maybe it means learning Spanish. There's a million different ways to live incarnationally, but the idea is that we are sent people. And in the end, you can see that Jesus imparted the Holy Spirit to them. And that's encouraging because we need divine power to take these steps, to live for purpose, to live self-sacrificially, and to live incarnationally, to go past barriers and boundaries to engage other people. And yet that's what it takes to live as a person who has an influence in the lives of others for eternity. Now, with that in mind, take a minute and talk about these questions.